and welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program, we have Kurt Deimer. I had a chance to interview Kurt and talk to him about his music and his film career, which is getting hotter by the movie and the series that he's making. He's got a lot to dive into, and we had a good chat. Before I bring Kurt in, though, I wanted to do something that I hadn't planned on, but I just found in the process of researching music news for the program. Typically, every week we cover the whatever's interesting, really to me, in the music news world. And as I'm looking through and diving into stories and kind of seeing what's going on out there, and I bring them and share them on the program. And this week I'm going to skip most of that, though. In light of a past Concert Pipeline guest passing on April 30th, which I hadn't realized, or I would have gotten this tribute out sooner, and that is Joe Louis Walker. This happens from time to time where a guest who was on the program passes. Life goes on, and then it's a temporary thing. And I do talk to a lot of musicians who are in their older years and still playing and enjoying and living life. And Joe Louis Walker was one of those that was just memorable and enjoyable. And I wanted to take time to pay tribute and thank him for his time doing the interview. My buddy Jens, who used to co-host the podcast with me, and I interviewed Joe Louis Walker at Yoshi's in Oakland on August 15th. 2016. So 9 years ago almost that we interviewed Joe, and he just had this energy and this light about him. And this was back when we did the podcast in as just an audio format. So I'm going to in a moment share part of that interview with Joe, and have, for those that are watching on YouTube, have just pictures from the concert over it. To fill it in, but if you're listening on audio, then you'll have no issues. But Joe has a lot to be proud of and a very extensive career. He put out his first album, "Cold as the Night," in 1986, and never really slowed down, never really stopped, all the way up to his last album, Weight of the World, which came out in 2023. And he, even this year, put out Cold as the Night Reimagined. It's kind of a nice bookending that of his career, really, to reimagine the songs that he put out on his debut album, which is just such a cool way to go. So he's a blues artist, for those that aren't familiar with Joe's career. He was born in San Francisco on Christmas Day in 1949, and came from this musical family, had some early influences, including T-Bone Walker, B.B. King, Pete Johnson, and he's gotten to share the stage with so many artists, including John Lee Hooker, J.J. Malone, Buddy Miles, Otis Rush, Willie Dixon, Steve Miller, Earl Hooker, Muddy Waters, and maybe most notably Jimi Hendrix. And he, with something else we share in common, is he went to San Francisco State. Even maybe a couple years before I did, but we both spent some time at San Francisco State, which is pretty cool. And he just was this guy that never quit. And one of the things that we remember, my buddy Jens and I shared this article with Jens about John Lee Hooker and his passing. But one of the things that we remember from that show is his amazing alligator boots, which are just so classy and awesome. He was dubbed the Blues Man by Aretha Franklin. He also worked with Bonnie Raitt, and he passed following a cardiac-related illness, according to Rolling Stone, surrounded by his wife of 16 years, Robin, and their two daughters, Lena and Bernice. And his career just spanned over 6 decades. We talk about these bands that are hitting those 50-year milestones like AC/DC and the Rolling Stones and that sort of thing. Walker started before them with his own music, and he he did. I mean, he worked these odd jobs in the '70s, but he started playing with gospel outfits, and he was performing at the 1985 New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, which became a catalyst for his return to blues. And uh, he once called himself a restless soul with music. And again, he has somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 albums, and he's touched on many different types of music during that time. But it's just music was so much a part of him. In 2016, actually, surprisingly, later in his career, he was nominated for his first and only Grammy for Best Contemporary Blues Album with his 2015 release, "Everybody Wants a Piece," and and then, I mean, he's just been celebrated by so many people. So I wanted to take a moment on the program to again pay respect to Joe Louis Walker, who died at age 75. We're going to play part of that interview from Yoshi's that I did with my buddy Jens and blues legend Joe. And then at the end of the program, we'll close it out with a song from Joe's set that he played. I mean, and then you can just hear that. I mean, how incredible and how great his music is. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. But here's our interview with Joe Louis Walker. You're here with Joe Louis Walker backstage at Yoshi's. How are you doing, Joe?
We're doing just fine.
Excellent. Now, have you played Yoshi's before? I imagine you have, because you're
Yes,
from...
I played several times. Yeah, I played here, maybe 4 or 5 times. Maybe 4 times.
Yeah. Now, you're being from San Francisco, there's obviously a lot of clubs to play. I know you've done a couple of live albums at Slim's, and that's always, I mean, an incredible venue, just like a good atmosphere, right? What are your favorite places to play?
Well, I really don't have 1 or 2 or 3 favorite places, to be quite honest, and not to be wishy-washy, but usually, you a place might not look like all that from the outside, and then you get in, and the people make, it's so cool, and the place could be the richest place in the world, and everybody's sitting on their hands. So, there's sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. I think the people make the place,
Yeah. When did you know you wanted to be a musician? You picked up the guitar around age 8, and obviously you have music in your family. When did you know that's what you wanted to do?
Well, I knew that I knew that it was something that always got my attention. When as a kid, my dad would play records on the record player, and my mom would play records, my older brothers and sisters, on and on and on. So every time somebody played something, I don't care what it was, it could have been, blues, jazz, funk. Well, it wasn't too much funk in the early 50s. It was, but they didn't have a name for it.
Yeah.
But I was always the one that would say, play it over, play it over, play it over. And so when I got to school, the school at the time, you could check out instruments. Your parent could check out like a library card, as long as they vouched for you. And if something happened to the instrument, they would take care of any kind of bill that would arise. So I checked out every instrument that I could, but the guitars were always checked out. So I don't know, about 10, 11. I really was just anything I could make noise on. And about 12 years old, my mom got me a guitar, and about 14, I started playing with my cousins. We had a little family band, about 4 of us. Then one of them turned real professional, and I took his place in the family band, and I joined the union, I think at 14, 15, and I left home at 16.
And your mom always, her go-to was B.B. King, right? So,
yeah, B.B.
So you grew up on a lot of his stuff, and then as you grew up, you got to obviously play with B.B. and kind of interact with him a lot. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, at the time, my mom and Pop were coming up down south, 40s. My dad at late 30s, 40s, 50s. My dad being from Mississippi, he knew a lot of those guys. I mean, it really wasn't a big business as it is now, and those guys were, they'd work in the fields, and then they would play on weekends. So my dad came from around that area with Howlin' Wolf and Charlie Patton, those guys, so he knew about that kind of stuff, and my mom did too, as far as the being, BB and people like that, Nat King Cole were the most high profile African American stars at the time. So that was sort of like their Michael Jacksons or their Beatles, So it got to be a thing where, music was always in my house. My grandmother's gospel music, and just, me, I would go to gospel, singing in the church, and then, playing, we were playing in drum corps and always playing music, always playing at sock hops and at the gyms and this and that and the other. So it was a big part of really my whole family in a way.
Well, now, talk to me about being inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame.
Well, it's sort of bittersweet because some of the cats that I played with, like Earl Hooker, Mike Bloomfield, just real giants. I basically got in the Blues Hall of Fame, I think, a year after Michael, in the same year as Earl Hooker, and to me, it was something askew with that picture. But I really appreciate them putting in the Blues Hall of Fame because I think in the '80s when I came back to playing blues. It was just really getting another lease on life. Stevie Ray had come out with more of a rockin' blues, and Robert Cray had come out more of a soulful blues, Thunderbirds more of a roadhouse blues, and Etta was making a resurgence, a lot of things. And that opened the door for me to come in with my little, like Bonnie Raitt called it, a little chicken skin music. So it was a real big tent then. And that was, I think it gave blues a real shot in the arm at that point.
Yeah. How was working with Jimmy?
Well, I didn't work with Jimmy.
You played with him though at some point.
Jam. He used my rehearsal space. Never got paid for it.
Still trying to collect on that.
No, it was all good. It was sort of like a communal. A buddy Miles let me use, and it just was sort of floating around.
Yeah.
He was a sweet person. I always figured, if there was a poster child for what love and peace really stood for, it was him.
Yeah.
I never heard him raise his voice. I'm sure he did, but he was just one of those guys. Everywhere the man went, he had a guitar with him.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it was cool. I took my daughter and son on their first plane trip earlier this year up to Seattle, and we went to the EMP Museum, and there's a whole Jimmy room there, and I was really moved by some of the stuff up there, and I was kind of teaching her about it a little bit. And the next day, as we're kind of leaving, she's like, asking me about how Jimmy died, and that was like the same day that David Bowie passed away. So who was really influential on her, and to the point where I dressed up as Bowie for Halloween last year. Yeah. So because she wanted to be Sarah from the Labyrinth. Anyway, it's just you have those influences that just are such a monumental piece of your.
Yeah, well, one thing about when those particular type of artists were doing what they were doing, the music was just rife with experimentation. Everybody from the Dead, who I lived around the corner from, to Jesus Christ, Frank Zappa, Bob Dylan, you go on and on, and Beatles, Stone, Stevie Wonder, blah. Literally, and I would say that about 99% of them would have flunked American Idol.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
No, it's true.
Bob Dylan, they would have asked him, well, why is that song once upon a time, would excuse me while I touch the sky mean? Do you know another lyric outside of yeah? No.
She's 5'9", can't say monkey wrench. She weighs more by the foot than she does by the inch. Yeah, right? Come on.
It would have
wouldn't have lasted a day on that show.
The uniqueness that every just snatch anything out of the sky, wow thing, Inagata Davida, 99 minutes long. It was really rife with experimentation, and that's one thing I miss about that times more than anything.
Yeah. So one of the things that I understand, and you've mentioned a couple times, is that you're a fan of the Beatles, big fan of the Beatles.
Oh yeah, John Lennon mainly, but yeah, all the Beatles, yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering about. I wasn't quite sure if you were a fan of the Beatles in general, their music, or if you were a fan of, or had a relationship with, certain Beatles members, and if their music or just their, their perspective influenced you or your music.
Well, this is the thing, and just not the Beatles. When you speak of the English musicians, basically regurgitating American music and bringing it back with more energy, but then doing their own thing. What I liked about it was that they always gave credit where credit was due, and they were always sincere in the heart. Like Eric Burden said, all the English guys did was take the music the Americans threw in the trash bin and brought it back to them. Now, it wasn't in the trash bin in my house. Johnny Hooker was played all the time, but some Americans it was. But that being said, I think what the Beatles brought to music was fun, creativity as the day is long, and with John Lennon, you had basically Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger and Muddy Waters all rolled into one because, it was all real.
Yeah.
And then you had probably our most melodic person of the century, Paul McCartney, great drummer Ringo, the tastiest guitar player you could want, George Harrison. I mean, and all great, great singers, and even Ringo with his expressive voice. So it was just, I think all musicians. I never heard anybody say that they met the Beatles and didn't like them.
Right? How could you not?
Even from a distance.
Right?
I met Ringo and I liked him.
Right.
So unassuming, so nice. We did a couple of shows with McCartney, and he was very gracious from the stage. Just you just really get the feeling that they really did more than just bring music back. Yeah. They refused to tour with segregated audiences. I mean, back in the day, it was Yeah. It was they educated people and they walked the walk.
Yeah, they were on top of it.
Especially John Lennon,
Yeah. Yeah. So I read that you said that Shakespeare is the number one blues guy.
No, I said he's one of the original.
One of the original blues guys. Okay. And so tell me a little bit about that. I mean, you majored in English as well. Was Shakespeare a big influence on you and kind of his way with words?
Once Shakespeare's like blues. You have to get to certain maturity in a way to get blues, unless you're a freak of nature like me. I was in the blues as a kid because my dad had me like Pavlov's dog. But if you read 90% of Shakespeare's plays, they basically be elements of the blues, which is you gain the world, you lose your soul, and then you gain it back by getting rid of all the BS you deal with adversity, and it's the human condition.
Yeah,
that's all it is. And the human condition don't know sexual preference, race. It doesn't know anything but human condition. I guarantee if you got $1 billion, you get a stomach ache just like everybody else. You get a you put your pants on one leg at a time. In fact, when you have $1 million, you have more problems than you do when you have 1,000. Right. It may not seem like it, but it's true.
Yeah. And so how much of your writing is the human condition versus like just personal where you're
well, writing comes in all kinds of ways. You can grab a paper. I used to grab the Bible. I wrote songs straight out the Bible. You can grab a paper like John Lennon used to do, and Benefit of Mr. Kite. You can grab a paper like you can do like Smokey Robin reading about Pagliacci and write Tears of a Clown.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you 99.9% of the cats come where Smokey come from don't know who the hell Pagliacci is, but they did. They were singing right along with it, and they might have went back and found out who he was.
Yeah, and you like to write quick, right? Like that's.
Well, I write all kind of ways. Yeah. I've had songs sit in my mind for years, and songs that 13 songs in 2 days. Depends on what's going on. But what I do with writing is that I don't force it.
Yeah.
If it's happening, it's happening. If it's not happening. Like recording, when you record a song more than 2-3 times at a sitting, at one sitting, you're not recording any better. You're just recording it more. So it's best maybe to go back home, let it sit there, blah blah blah, and then let things gestate in your mind. See what's because usually the first the first go at it usually ain't the last go at it. Very rarely you're gonna write satisfaction.
This is perfect.
You're not gonna write satisfaction in sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's not a place you like to go to write or anything. It's just wherever in the moment.
There's certain. I used to like write on trains when I toured England, and when I lived here on the West Coast, I used to go to Ben Lomond, Santa Cruz. There's nice cabins up there, and after the earthquake, it sort of made it a little bit hard. When the earthquake back in the day, but I can pretty much write. I write with people, and sometimes I don't. I can pretty much write anywhere if this feeling hits. If it doesn't, I'm not one of those guys who sit in the room like the Brill Building.
Yeah.
Wait for the inspiration to come. I just ain't one of those guys. I can do it. I've written under a deadline before, but it's like music. I think art. The uniqueness about it is that it captures you. You don't capture it.
Yeah.
You can become a good a person. The tools like acting, method acting. You can know, but when you get into boom, okay, boom, it's running. You got to put the method aside, and you got to put your take on it. And it's the same with music, I think.
So I think maybe one of the advantages that you had is that you grew up in the Bay Area, right? I mean, there's a lot of talent that comes through here.
Well, and also I think a big advantage that I had was I'm sort of a situation where I was living in the Fillmore before the hippies came and the mime troupe, Chet Helms, Fat Family Dog. I was there when they were there. I was part of that, and I was there after they were there, and I've seen it before it was there. And I think what happened in the Bay Area was unique. We invented FM radio. We did a lot of benefits, a lot of free concerts in the park. George Harrison may have done the first free concert in Bangladesh, but we were doing that stuff here big time. In fact, he came to San Francisco. So and people could come here from all over, drop the baggage of the past, all the sexual hang-ups and racial hang-ups and monetary, and young people were trying to find a new way to deal with the different situations in life. And I think a big part of it worked. I mean, what the hell's a jam band? It's the Dead. I mean, people used to say, "Oh, they're crazy letting everybody, just tape them." Yeah, crazy, and they didn't know. I mean, nobody knew. Right. But I mean, FM radio alone, But I mean, from this area, when you think of where I lived at, I lived maybe 6 blocks from Sly and Reverend Stewart, and then when I moved to Haight, I lived around the corner from Dead and Bobby and them, and the thing with Bloomfield and all the gospel stuff and all the blues guys coming here. Jimmy Reed came here, blah blah blah. It was so much, and I lived next door to a jazz club called the Both And. I used to get in free, hear Coltrane. I took West Montgomery to dinner. I mean, stuff like that. You could just walk in and talk to people. It wasn't no security. Right. I mean, it wasn't like that.
Right.
So if John Coltrane was playing, you could just go there and see him and say, "Hey, man, wow."
Everyone was accessible.
Everyone was accessible, and everybody wanted to all those shows that Graham put on would say the Dead, and on the same bill as Ornette Coleman, and on the same bill as Howlin' Wolf. So if you went to see the Dead, you get a shot of Howlin' Wolf. And you get to hear the Howlin' Wolf or the Yardbirds and Howlin' Wolf. You get to hear Wolf do the smokestack like thing, and it's cool because everybody was. I think it was a real camaraderie then, and it wasn't so much like Facebook musicians. There's a lot of Facebook musicians, and social media. Well, that's great. I understand that technology needs to be used, but it was really a lot about the music.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the times today, for musicians are totally different than what it was like when, you were young and growing up. But one of the things, I mean, when we talk about technology that I probably influenced you a lot was electric, right? You're an electric.
Well, I start on acoustic. I play both.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, really, in the 60s when I was open playing down at the Matrix, and I would open up and play with mostly acoustic guys, like Mississippi Fred McDowell, Lightning Hopkins. A lot of guys would come here, and I'd back them up sometime a little bit. So and play electric also, around the different clubs. But all those guys, I mean, a lot of people don't know. When I lived at Bloomfield's house, I mean, he'd have musicians over every day. Stride piano Mondays, slide guitar Tuesdays, country western. I mean, he's just a real music guy. And so, I'd wake up and him and Jerry Buck Garcia would be finger picking, or him and Country Joe McDonald, musicians. And then he'd go over there, and guys, we'd go over to John Cipollina's house from Quicksilver, blah, 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 blah. So I think everybody sort of, was trying to, it was all about, really just the richness of music and exploring it all.
I hear you. Yeah. I remember, reading about a lot of popular artists back in the day, going electric. Like we talked about Bob Dylan and, him picking up the electric guitar and how he had the big fan base, that was, oh my God, I can't believe Dylan's doing that. And, others were excited about the transition. But, I mean, I guess my question is, what was it like for you? I mean, did you feel like electric was the natural progression for you, or was it kind of controversial back then? Or
yeah, well, when I think everybody, it's the power of the, just all the what you can get done.
Yeah,
and just the you can hit a chord and everybody head turn. So the power of it, and then the success of it. Then you've seen, I think before groups like the Beatles and what have you, the musicians were sort of in the background, you know.
Yeah.
Well, they helped put it in the foreground. You know, I mean, before then you had Jimmy backing people like Little Richard or Ike, or you had James Brown with a great guitar player, Jimmy Nolan, but you never knew who Jimmy Nolan was. You never knew who Pete Moore was, who played on, or Marv Tarplin played on Tracks of My Tears. You didn't know that Marv Tarplin played on everything. You know, one of the sweetest, greatest guitar. All those guys were kept in the background. The guys, the Wrecking Crew, kept in the background. All the guys in Muscle Shoals, Jimmy Johnson, David Hood, all kept in the background. Millions of records they still on, and I always thought that was sort of unfair, you know, because those are the guys that all the musicians listen to. You know, that's who we listen to, you know, and so I search high and low. When the hell's that guitar player with that sweet introduction of Tracks of My Tears, or, you know, playing a great guitar riff on Going to a Go-Go, or what's his name, playing the riff from My Girl. You know, who is that? I mean, we knew who George Harrison was.
Yeah.
You know, there were groups. We knew who Keith really was. We knew who Jeff Beck was. We knew who Jimi Hendrix was, you know. But, you know.
Yeah. So as we look forward, is there anything you haven't done that you want to do? Anyone you haven't played with that you want to play with? I mean, it sounds like you've traveled the world and played with pretty much everybody. At this
I am, you know, I like playing with all kind of people. I've played with jazz musicians and made records with Branford Marcellus and Ernie Watts, and played with rock musicians many years. Some oldest for 30 years, Ronnie Wood and them like that. But I just, you know, I got one song that I'm going to probably be working on. I recorded, and I asked the songwriters if I could do it. It's called Make No Mistake. It's off a Spencer Weiner record. Because I like a songwriter, you know, likes me to do the song.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, so Keith's like, yeah, just make the song your own, Joe. I said, well, okay. So we recorded. It sounds great, and so I'd like to, you know, drop him in there one day. But I know he's busy, you know. But hey, you know, why not? I mean, I see we play on Mystique Mix Island every year as a benefit, but we've been doing that for about 6-7 years in Mystique. But certain guys I like, you know, and I like you know, for more than just the music.
Yeah.
You know, I call him, he's like the English Steve Cropper. You know, you can set your clock by his rhythm, and if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask him. You know? Don't ask him.
Yeah.
And I like that. You know, I like that about Cat. You know, it's like, just keep it real, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, thanks for taking the time today to do the interview. It was a great chat, and we're really looking forward to your set tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
Totally. That was my interview with Joe Louis Walker here on Concert Pipeline. And that takes us to our next interview, which is with Kurt Deimer. Again, I had a chance to interview him. He has a new album that just came out called And So It Begins. We dive into it. We dive into his album, some of the cool covers that he did on the album, some of his mentors who helped make it possible for him to be kind of where he's at, and he's like touring with some pretty awesome bands. We're gonna talk about that, but also he's had some notable moments in some horror movies, and it kind of led him to create an offshooting of this genre Forrest himself. I mean, he's a go-getter. He's a really positive dude, and we had a great chat. So let's go ahead and let's bring in Kurt Deimer on the program. Kurt, how are you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready for weekend, so no complaints here. So, uh, has your week been treating you well?
Oh, it's been it's been a crazy week. We're on tour right now up in Canada with Steel Panther and Buckcherry. So got another show here in London, Ontario. I'm in the parking lot by the venue here, and at 7 o'clock we go on every night. So
Yeah. How's the tour treating you so far?
very well. It's our second time in Canada in less than a year, and we're growing our Canadian fan base by leaps and bounds, and doing a lot more merch and all that stuff. So the fan base is growing, and thanks to folks like you, we'll hopefully keep growing it. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Tell me about Steel Panther and Buckcherry. So, like, how is it touring with them?
oh, it's very, very cool. Buckcherry and and us have done several shows together even in the past. So both our camps get along real well. And, I think Josh and I eventually will do a song together that I'm going to be working on that. And, Michael Starr, Steel Panther, very, very gracious man and very kind, and comes and checks us out all the time. And everybody's in harmony and going out and kicking ass every night.
Yeah, for sure. You're from Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, and so tell me kind of about the music scene there. Obviously, you have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Have you been there? What is it? What is it like in Cincinnati?
Well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's in Cleveland, so that's like
Cleveland, Ohio. So
yeah,
it's not too far though, right?
it's like
Yeah.
about 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
Cincinnati, you've got the Andrew J. Brady Center there, which is the new big music venue. You got Riverfront, you got Madison over in Madison, Kentucky, or on Madison Road over in Covington, Kentucky, and a lot of other theaters. And I played music there until I was 20. I went to college at the University of Cincinnati, so played like Sudsy Malone's in the Plaza back when the Afghan Wigs were coming out. And it's a good music scene, but my goal is Bootsy Collins is from there, and my goal is to be the biggest artist to come from Cincinnati eventually. And I'm proud of my hometown. It's a great place that my three sons were raised in, and now their dad's out doing rock and roll and movies and all that stuff. But it's a great town. My other businesses one's located there, and it's just my roots. It's my calm, except why I go out and do all this crazy stuff. So.
Yeah. Do your kids have any musical inclination? Like, are they interested in it too? Or
Well, my oldest, he lives in Boston, and him and his wife met. She just got married last September, playing in the Boston University pep band. They both played trumpet. My middle son, he thinks he's a rapper, but he just messes around with it. He likes to do DJ stuff. And then
yeah,
my youngest, he's an adventurer, explorer. He's going to Montana State and loves the outdoors. So.
yeah. And so, I mean, that's cool. That's cool that you got that in common with a couple of your kids too. So, and so when you were playing as a teenager and you played until you were 20, how many bands were you in around then? Did you get out and tour a bit or?
A couple. I just goofed around him, and then we were in this. I had the Circus Birds, and we actually were starting to write some original stuff, and we did a lot of covers. Like I love the Hoodoo Gurus out of Australia and REM and stuff like that. But it wasn't really. I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere, and I had really bad panic and anxiety disorder when I was younger, and self-medicated that. So I met my son's mom, and she kind of took control over me and helped me change my ways. And I graduated college on the dean's list, got a master's degree, made straight A's, and figured out my anxiety later on in my late 20s. And yeah, it just, without her, I probably wouldn't have gotten myself at, where I needed to be. And if I would have started trying to tour then and living the life I was living, I probably wouldn't even be alive. So I'm
Yeah, yeah.
blessed that I met my kid's mom, and that she got me under control.
Yeah. So it sounds like it just seemed like this thing that, I mean, you had to hang up for a while. And so tell me kind of about getting back
Well,
into music.
I had to I had to just pretty much give it up, and because I was very entrepreneurial in business too, and it's just like I can't win this game, and if I can ever get back into it and I'm successful other ways, and I can win the music business game, then I'll get back into it because I love big shows. I went to concerts all the time, and I just love the awe of the big stage and these great musicians. And I never thought I'd get back into it, to be honest with you. But here in 2017, my oil company, Starfire, was putting product placement because it's a lubricant company in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down to shoot a movie, Trading Paint, where I was going to do a cameo, just present the winner's check, no speaking. And
With
then
John Travolta and Shania Twain.
and Shania Twain, Trading Paint. and they ended up offering me a speaking role in the track announcer. So I joined SAG on the spot, ended up being in the movie, getting paid for it. Shot Halloween. A couple months later, I got killed by Michael Myers in a
Yeah.
John Carpenter official sequel.
How cool is
And
that? How cool is that just to be, have been part of the Halloween saga that's been going on for decades, and just to be
yeah,
able to say that, right? Like to be able to say I was fucking killed by, by Michael
yeah.
Myers. Like not there's a
Well,
handful of people that can say that because you killed a couple people, but
you know,
smallest.
John Carpenter was the original, and then everybody else did a bunch of Halloweens. And then when he came back in 18 with his family and wanted to do the last three that came out, those are official John Carpenter. And to be killed by Michael Myers in the official Halloween movie, that's a short list. And my kills is one of the most epic. So it was really quite surreal. But that helped launch me into more acting. I ended up down in Alabama doing some more, and met a singer-songwriter, Ben Trexel, and we started writing music. I put my vocals on some songs that he had and caught the music bug again, and here I am.
Yeah. Now, what is it about the horror phase or genre for you? I mean, have you always been a horror fan, or did that just come around when you started kind of
Yeah.
appearing in
No,
them?
I just want to do good, entertaining movies that are comfortable to me, and I love the culture, the horror fan culture. There's a lot of hardcore horror fans, and you know, Halloween just dropped in my lap. And then, so I decided from that to do my own franchise, Hillbilly Hollow, that I star in. We're a horror killing duo, me and my brother Tickles. So that's coming out. That'll be a franchise like Halloween. And then I was blessed to be cast with Bill Moseley from The Devil's Rejects, which is my favorite movie, and was my favorite actor in that movie, Otis. And now Bill and I are great friends, and we shot Scared to Death, and I play the Grog, the horror icon that's been in horror movies my whole life, and you know, kind of the good guy in the movie, and but I'm a horror icon. And then Lynn Shay's in it too, and she's hilarious, and it's a great horror comedy with an ensemble cast. But one thing you probably don't even know yet is this February, I shot the Andy Gould produced movie, who produced House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects. It's called Pandemic Sex Party.
I did not know about that. No, tell me about
And
it.
they wanted me to be in it and play one of the kids. And I said, well, the only way I'm going to do it is if I could be the next Michael Myers or Jason. So I'm the next new big horror killer, like Art from Terrifier, and I'm the rancher. So I got the mask and everything. So
Oh
that's
my
coming
god.
out. But on the flip side, I'm getting ready at the end of this month to go shoot a movie called Relapse, which is going to bring attention to fentanyl addiction and stuff. And I play the rock star dad of the young up and coming singer, my daughter, who is addicted to drugs and stuff. So I can do anything. It's just a matter of if I want to be a part of the project or not. So I'm getting lots of offers now, and it's you really got to pick and choose. So
Yeah. Are those sets just like totally fun? Because I mean, obviously you watch it and your their goal is to be terrified, but I imagine it's just full of like laughs on set and enjoying everybody
uh
around. And
well, like pandemics, I kill like 15 people brutally. And it's like sometimes I couldn't even breathe through my mask because there'd be so much fake blood
oh
all
my
over
god.
me. It was crazy. People were dying laughing. When I shot the Grog, Lynn and I did a lot of, and Bill and I did a lot of off the cuff stuff together. People would always be laughing. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love shooting movies.
Yeah, that's super cool. Tell me about the Monsters of Rock cruise. Yeah, you got to be a part of that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Larry invited us to go on the ship, and we actually did a couple sets, and really had a great time playing for all the fans, and got to meet a lot of fans on the ship who already knew us. And hopefully it's going to lead to many years of being on Monsters of Rock and, you know, other cruises like that. So it was a
Yeah.
great time. You know, our first cruise, and to get on that in less than 3 years of touring, we're pretty blessed. So
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I haven't been on a theme cruise like that. I try and get my kids on actual cruises now each summer to trap them on a boat and get to spend some time with them. But I mean, a cruise with bands that you love is, I mean, just sounds epic, and it's just endless music all the time, and
Yeah,
you know.
it's nonstop. Yeah, they overlap even. So,
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
it's just fun. That it's just fun. You can't go anywhere. You're right there, and it's all music everywhere.
Yeah. Uh, Tell me about the impact of Brian Reed of Tesla and kind of what he was able to do for you.
Well, we got put on, I think, 6 shows to open a couple years ago, and Brian came out to me at one of the venues. I was sitting out in my chair like I am now in this parking lot, and he said, "I really dig your vibe and your music," and we became friends. And he started guiding me and kind of consulting me, and managing my way through the forest. And then we started getting on Tesla shows everywhere, and it's helped really launch us because we're playing for a big crowd, and us and Tesla have a different sound, but it's a great rock show, and it's really, without him, we wouldn't be where we are today this fast. So very thankful to Brian.
Yeah. And your first tour, I think, was opening for Jeff Tate of Queensryche, right? Did
Yeah,
tell me
yeah,
tell me about that experience.
yeah, that was in 2021, and my management at the time had brought Jeff up to LA, and we met in LA the summer of 2021. And when we met in LA, we agreed that he would be featured on one of my songs, Burn Together, and that we do a tour together where we're direct support. And without Jeff, again, like Brian, both mentors, I wouldn't have launched so quickly. And Jeff was gracious enough, took me under his wing. We put our voices together on Burn Together, which I think turned out just amazing. And the rest is history. Here we are now. And Jeff and I just did another collab that will be coming out in September.
What's that? Tell me about that.
I can tell you a little bit about it. It's very we're bringing back the new version of a song from the '90s that was huge for Queensryche.
Okay.
If that gives you a little hint.
Hint, hint. Okay. Leave it as a teaser.
Yeah, it's a little teaser, but it's amazing.
Oh, look forward to that. Look forward to that.
And we're going to do it to help bring awareness to suicide and suicide prevention.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of causes that you're passionate about and want to, get it.
Oh, yeah. The more you give, the more you get in life. That's what I live by. And we got to help each other, be kind to each other, respect each other, care about each other. It's what I'm all about, and it's what the fans know I'm all about. So, and we just keep spreading that all over the world. Maybe we could make a little bit of a difference.
Yeah. We have to talk obviously about your new album. It came out today, and so it begins. So tell me about working with Phil X on this album. Like, what did he bring to the album, and how did it come together?
Well, he brought some of the best guitar work in the industry, because Phil X is a phenomenal guitarist, and creativity. He gets my vibe. I get his vibe. His voice is different than mine. He can do the high stuff. I can do the low. And I just kept feeding him lyrics that mean something to me. And he kept crafting it along with Chris Lord-Alge into this great music. And if I didn't do Have a Cigar, which Chris Lord-Alge was the first thing he wanted me to do, that Ben wanted me to do back in the day. He said, "You're going to do it this way." I wouldn't have met Phil. We wouldn't have been in the video together. He laid that solo down on that in one take, and he's just a genius. And then him and I started writing all this stuff together, and finally here we are with "And So It Begins."
Yeah, yeah. Did you get to spend some time with Chris too, and like talk to kind of pick his brain a bit, because he's worked with some legendary bands.
Yeah, Chris and I are like best friends. We go on vacations together. We go see bands together. We hang out in LA, go to dinners every night when I'm out there, or if I'm shooting a movie, I go to his house all the time for holidays. So I actually became really good friends with Chris once we discovered my music, and we just went out to dinner one night, and we hit it off. And we're like bros, so it's kind of fun to work alongside your friend and create stuff. And then especially my friend who has 5 Grammys and kind of knows a little something about mixing and producing. So
It's good to
I'm
have
very,
him in your corner.
I'm very blessed to have him in my life. Phil and I are friends. I'm very blessed to have Phil in my life, and Jeff Tate and I are friends. Very blessed, and it's just it's very surreal.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Tell me about how you approach your cover of Riders on the Storm. That I like
That
your cover. I think it's pretty great.
Yeah, that was Chris and I, hanging out in the studio. I loved Riders and on the Storm, and I just think it's a classic. But we wanted to like bring it into 2025, or 2024, whenever we did it. And Chris said, "You just rewrite the lyrics the way you feel for today's times, and then we're gonna have a cigar." And the way it does, but then it's going to go into a big thunderstorm. So it's one big long track, and then it goes into and then it goes into me telling my tale of my interpretation of Riders on the Storm. So it's the final side of the album, and it all goes right into each other. It's a double album, so it's on album 2 I mean, it ends with that. So and
Yeah.
it'll trip people out. It's trippy, very trippy.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It's awesome. And do you bring it out live also, or what songs on the album are you bringing to
No,
shows right now?
no, right now we can only do 30 minutes because we're right before Buckcherry and Steel Panther. So we're coming out slamming. We come out with Look, then we do Dance, or I'm sorry, Look, then we do Doom, then we do Dance, then we do Have a Cigar. Then I go out into the crowd, we do Naive, and then we do What You Saying off the first EP, which is a fan favorite everywhere. They light up the room. And then we close with Live or Die.
Nice. I like it. And I know you have a lot of touring coming up, and you got more shows. Are you going to be coming out to the West Coast anytime soon?
Yeah, we'll be back out on the West Coast hopefully this fall. That's the plan, if not sooner. And we're still making plans on late summer and fall on what we're going to be doing touring wise. But stay tuned because there's some good stuff coming. We're not going to. Might have one other movie I have to shoot, but pretty much the majority of the rest of the year, besides the 2 movies I got to shoot, we'll be touring, coming to a town near you. So, and we just played the Viper Room
Oh yeah,
a
yeah.
few
You were
weeks
down in
ago.
LA.
Yeah,
How was that show?
and we just played Redding, California, with Steel Panther and Buckcherry. So,
So you hit both sides of the state, but when you get you in the Bay Area a little bit. So
yeah, the Viper Room show was amazing. It was sold out, and it was just us. And now I played the Rainbow 50th anniversary. I played the Whiskey more than once, and now I played the Viper Room. So, hence the song Sunset Boulevard, my tribute to that, magical area where so many bands came out of. So,
yeah, yeah. I wrote down a lyric, and I don't know the context of what I wrote. It had I didn't give myself enough notes. But to Mount Tamalpais, you taught me how important patience in the journey is. Uh, is that from one of your songs?
what does this say?
To Mount Tamalpais? Uh,
No,
uh, no. Okay, I'm
no.
trying to see where I got that from. That's interesting because I was curious if you had any history in the Bay Area.
Oh yeah,
Spending time.
actually I was just going to say that when you said Mount Tamalpais, my dad worked for Chevron, and he was headquartered out there in the late 80s, early 90s. And when I graduated finally, my kid's mom and I drove out there, and we lived at their place for a little bit. Then we rented a condo down on Lombard, or an apartment down on Lombard in the marina. And then we bought a house over at Berkeley. So I lived there for about 3 years while I was coming up in the oil business.
Did you go to a lot of shows during that time? I know you weren't,
Oh
making
yeah,
music.
we go see Blues Traveler, we go see
Okay.
Jerry Garcia band, all those down at the Warfield, I think it was.
Yes,
We
yes.
go to Dead shows, Allman Brothers shows at the outdoor places. Yeah, we went to a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Buck Naked and the Bare Bottom Boys, I saw them. at a lot of little bars, you know.
I'm sure you went to some shows at the Fillmore.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, I don't know if I went to the Fillmore
really?
itself. It was more the Warfield.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of shows there. I did see. Oh, who did I see? Four Non Blondes and Tragically Hip,
Mm.
but I can't remember where I saw them. It's so long ago, and I was so anxious and panicky at that time. I kind of just try to forget that part of my life. But it was a
Yeah.
beautiful area, and I think we lived there at the right time. And I hope the beauty, comes back, or it's not as bad as what the news portrays.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. And
Yeah,
it's tough.
but
It's,
we'll be back though,
yeah, oh good, good. And
and
Fort on
we'll bring positivity to the Bay Area.
that's what you got to do, you know.
Yeah.
And Fort on Blondes is going to be reuniting here in 2 weeks at in Napa, actually. So
Oh, that's awesome.
so might check them out at that show. Um, well, before we wrap, I just wanted to ask one more question. I know you're a big fan of AC/DC. Have you ever gotten to see them?
Yeah, I saw the Hell's Bells tour with the big
Mm,
bell on stage and the Gold album. Phenomenal show. I don't think I've seen them more than that, but I know for sure I saw the Hell's Bells tour and I was just blown away. But I was seeing a
yeah,
lot of bands back then. But I love AC/DC, and they came out and did it the way they do it. And hopefully when you listen to the whole album, it takes you on a musical journey and you see the way I can do it in many different styles and do it our way, stay true to who I am.
yeah, yeah. I saw them 3 weeks ago at the Rose Bowl in LA. I took my 11-year-old son, and we had
Oh,
pit we had pit tickets. We were right against the stage, and it was just like this is yeah, such a great experience. It's something that you have to see.
gotta see
Like
it.
it,
There's
it should be.
nothing like live music.
Yeah, yeah,
And hopefully that's the way people, when they leave and see us, they're like, man, you're our new favorite band. We never heard of you. And that's why we got to grind it out and keep building our fan base and have you guys keep spreading the word. And before you know it, we'll be headlining and blowing your minds away.
yeah. Oh, looking forward to it, and yeah, and hope to see you out here on the West Coast
Then I
later
can
this
bring
year
this,
as
then
well.
I
So.
can bring the theater into my music and do really cool stuff like play Riders on the Storm and
Oh
have a
yeah,
cigar, really
yeah.
do some epic shit. So
You get that set that's longer than 30 minutes. You can build it in, and
yeah, man.
it'd be so cool to see. So.
So
Oh, awesome. Well, Kurt, I want to thank you for taking the time. I hope you have a
always.
good show. Enjoy the rest of the tour in Canada, and yeah, and congrats on the album. It's really a freaking rocking album. So you have a lot to be proud of there. I know it took 2 or 3 years of writing just to get it all out. I mean,
It's finally begun though, yeah. And album 2 is already teed up. Album 3 will be done by the end of the year. So now the music's going to start flowing. We just had to start somewhere. So I wanted to put out a debut double album, do it the way people used to do it, and really unleash it on the world and let everybody share it, promote it all over the world. So here we are, and so
and
it begins.
yeah, and so it begins exactly, and that's a great way for it to begin. So congratulations, and
Oh, thank you. And you'll be sharing our links with everybody.
oh yeah, I'll
Yeah.
get it all out
Hey,
there, and
and we're
yeah.
gonna have vinyl, colored vinyl, a collector edition of the double gatefold, and we're gonna have cassettes and CDs. And you can go to Kurt Deimer, my website, DEIMER.com, and order merch, order vinyl, whatever you need. And hopefully we'll be in a lot of record stores too. We're working on that.
I love that you're doing the cassettes because it's a yeah, it's a
It's a collector's item, man.
it's a collector's item. Exactly. It's a piece of like, oh man, this is what you just have to flip it over, and music's too easy these days. It's
Yeah. I
yeah.
used to have hundreds of cassettes.
Oh,
So,
oh, yeah.
so
I
yeah,
miss the CDs too, and I used to go to the concerts, and all the bands I'd interviewed 20 years ago, like I'd buy their CD or get it, and then get them to sign it, and can't do that anymore. So.
yeah, we sell CDs at our merch booth right now. We'll be selling our vinyl. We sign a lot of CDs, a ton of them. So it's really cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Love our
Well, Kurt,
fans.
yeah. We'll have a great day. Okay, Kurt?
Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you having me, and peace and love to your family and to all your followers. And hopefully we can do it again, man.
Absolutely, and keep making those awesome movies too. It sound like
All right,
incredible, and some stuff to look forward to. So,
check them out, man.
all right, that was my interview with Kurt Deimer here on Concert Pipeline, and that's going to take us to the end of the program here. Before we close out, I do want to let you know we have some cool interviews coming up, which I'm excited about. I'm not going to tease them necessarily right now, but also we will be covering Bottle Rock Napa Valley Festival. Tickets are still available for that, May 23rd through 25th. Bunch of great bands playing, including Green Day, Sublime, Justin Timberlake, Benson Boone, Noah Kahn, and Cage the Elephant, Alan Stone, Lawrence, Four Non Blondes, Ice Cube is playing, Revolution, who else? Goose, Flo Rida, Kate Hudson is going to be playing. Interested in checking that out. So many bands. They also celebrate local bands also, and we might have some of those on the program. Some that I've had on the program in the past, maybe. Or some old friends might be joining. We'll see how that goes. But so much exciting stuff to come from Bottle Rock. So that is going to come in a couple weeks. You'll be seeing content from the Bottle Rock Festival. So to close us out, we are going to play one song from Joe Louis Walker's set at Yoshi's in Oakland on August 15th, 2016. This is Don't Let Go. For all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.
Don't let go, don't let go. That whistle, it's 10 o'clock. I said, come on, baby, it's time to rock. I said, I'm so happy I got you here. You got me grinning from ear to ear. Yeah, I said, ooh, yeah, baby, your love been killing me. Oh, shucks, yeah, honey, I won't stop for a million bucks. I love you so, yeah, oh, hold me tighter, don't let go. I said a thunder, lightning, wind and rain. Don't let go, don't let go. I said a love will be a horn inside my brain. Don't let go, don't let go. I said one thing, baby, I just can't say. Don't let go, don't let go. I said your lips kissing another man. Don't let go, don't let go. I said, your love will kill me. Ah, shucks, yeah, sugar, I won't stop for a million bucks because I love you so, yeah, oh, hold me tighter, don't let go. I said, I don't know, walking upside of a hill. Don't let go, don't let go. I said, love will be dragging me through the mill. Don't let go, don't let go. I said, I wasn't for having you. Don't let go, don't let go. I said, I'll be barking and howling too. Don't let go, don't let go. I said, ooh, yeah, sugar, your love is killing me. Oh, shucks, yeah, I won't stop for a million bucks. I love you so, yeah, oh, hold me tight, don't let go. baby, you quit me yet. Don't let go, don't let go. I said I'll be crying, soaking wet. Don't let go, don't let go. I said one thing, baby, I just can't stand. Don't let go, don't let go. I said your lips kissing another man. Don't let go, don't let go. Ooh, yeah, honey, your love been killing me. Oh, sugar, yeah, sugar, I will.